Hi, it's Dr. Leslie Ellis. I'm back with part 2 of my free recorded series on dreams. And in this module, we're going to briefly talk about why it's so important to pay attention to your dreams. And I can list many reasons. I can probably give you dozens. But for our purposes here, I'm going to limit myself to 3. So one of the most important things I think about dreams to know is that dreams really point to what matters to us. And I know they may seem nonsensical and kind of strange and sometimes really mundane or silly even, but that's only when you look at a dream at face value. And if you understand that they often are metaphorical representations of our emotions and our most salient emotions, the most important things to us, then it starts to, the strangeness of dreams starts to go away a little and they start to make a little bit more sense. Dream researchers believe that they play a big role in emotional memory consolidation. So when we go through our day, we have a million things happen to us, and we certainly can't remember all of them. It's not practical to do so. So how do we choose what we're going to remember? It's really well understood that what flags things for us to remember is if they have an emotional charge. So the things that get a rise out of us are the things we remember. And that's why if you're bored out of your mind when you're studying something that you need to remember for an exam, you're very less likely to recall it than if you have an emotional charge or are activated by the material, even if you have to really work at it to make it an emotional thing. It's the better way to remember something. So what the dream theorists are saying is that really that dreams represent those pieces of important information that our waking brain has flagged as something that we need to store in our long-term memory. And then the dreaming is implicated in the process of moving things from short-term memory to either discarding it or putting it into our long-term memory bank. And so it will pull out those elements from our day where we had a big emotional response. And it may not pull out the whole scene. It might pull out a piece of the scene. And as it places it into our associative web of memory, it might equate it with something from our childhood or from high school. Or you kind of might wonder why a person that you hadn't thought of in years shows up in your dream in relation to an incident that you had that day, and it mixes things in a strange way. And one idea that seems to make sense to me is that it's placing those important things into a web of memories that are associated with that kind of experience, and so that they're in a place where we can access that memory if needed. And they also present our feelings in a creative, dramatic, and deep sensory fashion. So when we're dreaming, we really feel into that dream element. We may not always make sense of it. And this idea comes from a very famous dream researcher named Ernest Hartman, who suggested that dream images are picture metaphors for our most salient emotions. And he famously pictured a tidal wave, or used a tidal wave as a metaphor for an overwhelming emotion following trauma. He said a lot of people who've experienced a trauma won't dream directly of the trauma, but they'll dream of a natural disaster or something like a tidal wave to picture the emotion that came as a result of the trauma. So if you think about your dreams that way, as pictures of emotions, of feelings that really matter, then you'll start to see that our dreams are actually pointing to what does matter. And sometimes we can go through our day and have a lot of things happen and not really be able to slow down enough to consciously sort of single out the things that are truly important. And our dreams will do that for us. Dreams can save lives. I know that sounds like a very dramatic statement, but in fact, I have many examples that I can offer you where that is exactly what happened. The psychiatrist Oliver Sacks said that the dreaming mind is more sensitive to subtle body cues, so therefore it can be an early warning system. And so our dreaming body is much more in tune with what might be going wrong, and will offer images of that can tell us to pay attention. And I've had a few examples in my practice of this, and I also have read about many examples and written about them in my book, A Clinician's Guide to Dream Therapy. And so dreams can point to both physical and mental health issues, and I'll give you an example of each. This one example that I quote is a dramatic one from Jeremy Taylor, who writes about a woman in one of his dream groups who had dreamt about a rotting purse that was full of rotting meat. It was so disgusting that the woman and her fellow dream workers really thought this was something to pay attention to. So even though she was about to go on a big long trip, she went to the doctor and she got her uterus and female parts checked out, and it turned out that she had a particularly aggressive form of cancer that would have killed her had she not gotten this information in a timely way. And so she fully credits this dream for saving her life. Another dream that's written about in a book put out by the International Association of Dreams called The Dreams That Can Change Our Lives is of a woman who was so deeply depressed that she had decided that she was going to take her own life. And she was going to do this the next day. She was planning her suicide. And that night she had a dream where she was attending the funeral of a friend, and Jesus was at the funeral and was angrily telling her that she had to tell the eulogy, that was her job to do that. And so she goes up and starts talking and looks around the room at all of the people who are so devastated by this person's death. And it puts her in very direct contact with the experience that her loved ones would have after she took her own life. So even though she still struggled with depression for many years after that, she decided as a result of this dream never to take her own life, never to do that to the people around her who loved her. So, and there are many, many, many examples like this of dreams pointing to physical problems or to mental health issues. There's some really obvious examples, such as the clear link between nightmares and PTSD. And dreams can be very, not only diagnostic, not only warning signs, but as your dreams change, they can also indicate that things have shifted and progress has been made. So, for example, those who suffer from PTSD nightmares will notice changes in their dreams as their PTSD, as they start to recover from it. So there are many, many other reasons that I think dreams are important to pay attention to, but I'm just going to share one more, and that is that dreams are a bridge to more. That dreams are, they seem to be able to reach beyond where our rational mind can go, and they not only give us an unfiltered glimpse of our authentic self, our deeper self, maybe the parts of ourselves that we may not be aware of, but that are really important to pay attention to. They also are a bridge to our spiritual nature and our spiritual life. And what I find is that many people that I've met who spend time with their dreams start to become more and more interested in their spiritual life, or more involved in their spiritual life. And so dreams, I think part of what makes them so attractive to me is that I've studied them, researched them, spent time with them, worked with other people's dreams, and I still have what feel like more questions than answers about dreams, because they seem to retain such a mystery. There's a lot you can say about dreams, and then they seem to also defy definition, and for everything that you kind of want to pin down about a dream and say dreams are like this, there will be exceptions. And so I think they offer us endless avenues of exploration. Even within a dream itself, a dream can mean one thing and then it can mean another thing. You can carry a dream with you for years and find that it's only 10 years after you had that dream that suddenly it starts to make sense to you. It's as if they have this prescient quality as well. So there is a way that if you're in your life, you're hungering for more, that it feels like you've got maybe a lot of your material needs met, or you just really feel like you want more meaning or depth in your life, dreams are a bridge to the more. And so that concludes this video about some ideas about why it's important to listen to your dreams. And next I'm going to give you some ideas about what you can do on your own to explore your dreams, to glean something from them or get some of the meaning that they are possibly conveying to you.